Is Jetour ever coming to our Australian shores? Welcome back to the channel, my friends. I hope that they do. And my name is Dimitri, and this is Value Cars Australia, and we talk about the cars on Australian shores and other shores that represent the maximum value for money, primarily to an Australian consumer. Why are we talking about Jetour when it's not in Australia yet? Well, same reason why we talk about this, about other brands, about other cars. It is looking at precursors of the other markets, where the brand brings out the vehicles, they perform well, we might get some offcuts, even on our relatively small Australian market, but that is a fairly safe bet. So today I am translating another video by my favorite automotive journal called За Рулем. It's a Russian automotive journal I grew up on. It's translated as behind the wheel, as in behind the steering wheel. I've already translated quite a few videos from them. Take a look on my channel and the very recent video about Haval Julian restyling of 2024. If you haven't seen it, it's very interesting. So here we talk about Jetour. Jetour is a brand that is part of Chery Holdings, Chery Cars. Yes, here in Australia all we know is just Chery and Armada 5 and Tiggo lineup, Tiggo Pro lineup of vehicles. But in South Africa, in Russia, as big massive markets, the Chinese brands are obviously gaining popularity and gaining a lot of momentum. And they also create their own research and development centers. They iterate fast on the feedback. Basically, they're doing all good things, in my humble opinion. So Jetour is one of those sub-brands of Chery that I very much hope will come to Australian shores because they make this kind of beauty. Take a look at it. It looks exactly like the new Defender, doesn't it? It does look like a Defender. It's a light off-roader. It's an all-wheel drive version of the vehicle. It's a 2.0 liter turbo petrol engine vehicle. Yeah, it's a completely, it has locking differentials, it has a lot of off-roading capability, but it is not a vehicle on a frame. It is kind of a soft off-roader, if you like. It's a unibody off-roader, if we use Chery's own terminology over here. And our host Kirill from За Рулем, he kind of introduces the car to us. And one thing I have to say is that the borrowed elements that make it similar to Defender in the looks, I love them. Me personally, I love them. You tell me, what do you think? The frontal grille is cool. The Jetour writing is cool. Apparently it lights up when the car starts and all that stuff. But at the same time, it has a lot of fake things to it, which is also not something that I would shy away from, as opposed to the popular belief. I'm not pleasing some Chinese overlords here. I call it for what it is. I praise what deserves praise, and I criticize what deserves criticism. Well, in my humble opinion, while on the original Defender, all those hinges, all those kind of nuts and bolts, and all those elements of the design that give it ruggedness and that are for real solid metal steel, like they give it true ruggedness to that vehicle. Here, some of them are present. You will see a hinge, for example, pointed out on the tailgate of this vehicle, and you will see some handle-looking things at the roof, on the roof of this vehicle, that you think you can like put your weight on. But even Kirill here says, nah, it's all plastic. It's plastic, or it's purely decorative. It's just purely decorative, almost imprint to give it this rugged feel. But in fact, the car is not all that crazy rugged. And longevity of it, you can speculate, I can speculate, we don't know. The car has only been, even on Russian market, only since middle of last year, 2023, which means that it hasn't been around long enough. So only time will tell. Only time will tell how these cars go. But looks-wise, I think it's rather fantastic. The wheels are massive as well. The car sits a little low for my liking. Defender even sits higher, in my humble opinion. Also, it's roomy. Visibility is very, very good. He'll be talking about this when he takes the car on the road. He talks about the kind of decoration / the interior design of the frontal panels and everything like that. And the main thing that stands out obviously is a 15+ inch massive screen in the middle. That is fantastic for navigation, obviously, for maps and stuff like that. But at the same time, all of the controls, all of the essential controls, including air conditioning, including, I don't know, the heated seats and all sorts of stuff, and all off-roading, four-wheel driving modes are all on that screen. In my humble opinion, it's not very convenient. It is basically, yeah, making you tap on the screen. And I have a slightly similar situation in my Subaru Outback 2023, which is lovely and all that, but a lot of these controls are on the electronic screen. I think I much prefer physical buttons, and I know people who are remotely into some kind of off-roading, they want physical buttons and physical knobs and controls. Here, apparently, according to Kirill, the only physical button is the emergency stop kind of thing. The rest of it is electronic, and while we're talking about electronics, that electronics controls everything. The all-wheel drive mode is automatically engageable. So you can choose the driving mode from those electronic controls. You can be like explicitly choose to be in all-wheel driving mode, but if you leave it to automotive kind of automatic enablement, the computer will choose when that enters, and he says that at least this particular version of T2, the one that they're testing right now, Jetour T2, it is possibly not tuned the best possible way just yet, but we know from our experience with other brands such as Haval, such as GWM, and even Chery themselves, the main brand, I think they iterate pretty fast on their things and they learn pretty fast. I mentioned the engine, which is a 2.0 turbo petrol engine that takes 91 unleaded if it was for sale in Australia. It's an all-wheel drive system, obviously, but such a tiny engine in a relatively massive engine bay, as Kirill points out. This engine bay would fit at least a V6, and I'm not trying to say that V6 is what this car needs. It's probably not that heavy, especially considering that it's a light off-roader, not on a frame. It's not on a frame. It doesn't have any of those rugged kind of bones underneath, that rugged kind of skeleton. So probably it's not a massive loss, but worthy kind of a mention. Transmission is a 7-speed DCT. I'm not a massive fan of DCT. I made an exception for my Haval H6 DCT, which was tuned quite nicely, but I had a bad experience with DCT in MGHS, for example. So it's only your guess and mine how jerky or not jerky this particular Jetour Traveler T2 would be tuned. I don't know, and Kirill doesn't specifically talk about that. I just know that it's a 7-speed DCT, which is not the greatest of news, but who knows. They also say that a normal automatic transmission is coming later in the year. There will be a model available with that, at least for the Russian market. So again, who knows if and when this came to Australia, would we get CVT, DCT, or would we get a normal kind of auto? Kirill opens the tailgate and talks about the tailgate. That's why he talks about that fake hinge kind of thing that makes the vehicle and the whole construction look more rugged, like a whole kind of Jeep style, right? But it's not. He says that it's fake. And also the boot space, surprisingly, for such a long vehicle, which is almost 4.8 meters long, it is actually a very, very small boot. So again, if I'm looking at it from the perspective of a person who likes camping in my car, and currently I'm happy with my Subaru Outback, this still is a no-go for me. Doesn't look like it's a go for me. Maybe I'd be surprised, and of course, if it was available on our shores, I'd be delighted to test this vehicle and tell you what I think about it. But so far, that's not the greatest of news, at least from what I've seen here, shown by Kirill and За Рулем. One funny-ish kind of random fact that you might be interested in is the fact that this car apparently boasts of saying that it has 13 different hooks inside of the vehicle. The convenience of life hooks and handles, yeah? So, for example, the driver side A-pillar handle letting you get into the vehicle. The passenger side handle as well. The rear seats passengers also have the handles as well as little hooks built into the handle itself so that they can hang there, I don't know, a bag or something. Look, it's thoughtful. I'm being tongue-in-cheek here, but that's something that Chery/Jetour brand have thought about. Good on them. The key fob is of octagon style. I think it's stylish, but I don't know how practical it is being so wide. It's not elongated, but it's a little bit more wide for your pocket. I actually don't think that it's very practical, but it is what it is. And interestingly enough, the steering wheel is also of octagon shape. And Kirill, instead of saying it, oh, that's cool or whatever, he actually says, well, that doesn't bother me too much. Okay, so you and I, subjective. Of course it's severely very much subjective, but at the same time doesn't look like it's a good thing in his opinion. Having this octagon shape, pretentious, let's call it pretentious, but stylish steering wheel. I am neutral about it from the screen, not having driven the vehicle. To me it looks cool, but to you it might look pretentious as well. And it's telescopically adjustable and tilt adjustable as well, which kind of is becoming more of a norm for Chinese vehicles, at least in the Russian market, but hopefully in other markets as well, because that makes honestly quite a big difference. Interesting to point out that the at least front driver seats, they have the headrests obviously, and they have this frontal cushion kind of on the top of headrest, because it's Kirill refers to it as an airplane style seat, airplane style cushion that is adjustable on the sides for your head to kind of be a lot more sort of static. I don't know how important it is for the driver and how often do we fully put our heads onto that, but on a long road trip, I suppose any help for your head to be comfortable, I think it's a good thing overall. So anyway, from everything that I've seen, from everything that you've seen, and by the way, now is your time to tell me what are you seeing, what are your eyes picking up on that I haven't picked up on. I translated all the important bits of information that Kirill has given us about Jetour T2. Overall, I don't think it's a rugged off-roader. I think it pretends to be a Defender. It's not as solid as a Defender, but neither would it cost like a Defender. Defender, if I'm not mistaken, I'm recording this before checking the website, but I'll give you an overlay here of the pricing. But I think Defender in the most basic poverty pack costs something like $90,000, yeah, in Australia, and this probably will start from 40, would be my guess. So at least half the price it would be for majority of Australian families. With the increased interest rates and everything else, I think that's where the Chinese brands, especially as they iterate, as they improve the quality of their product, I think it's a great golden age for Chinese brands on Australian shores. Even though our market is snobbish, quite kind of badge snobbish, yeah, in majority of cases right now, but I think our market is waking up to the opportunity that value for money products coming from China, including cars, are representing. Like it or not, you may not like it, but you're using iPhone. I keep saying to the snobs in my comments who are trying to tell me off again for talking about Chinese brands, I'm saying, what pants are you wearing? I bet you that those pants are made in China. What phone are you using? I bet that you or your girlfriend are using iPhone and it's made in China, and a lot of parts are manufactured in China, and all other kind of stuff. But this is a topic for another time, my friends, completely drifting off. But I quite like this. Do you like this? I quite like Jetour T2. I quite like it. I think it's okay. I think it has a right to exist within a certain price category. Like, the best saying that I can say to you is that everything has a price. Would it rival Defender? No, but it also costs half. So, and at a half price, yeah, maybe, why not? Why not, really, quite honestly. So let's talk. I think Jetour T2 could come to Australia maybe 2-3 years down the track, hopefully sooner, because competition is always good. Competition, even if you are not interested in it. Thank you very much for tuning in. Time for me to wind down, and I'll talk to you next week, about something else, value cars related. Goodbye for now.